Okay, real quick before we get started, I just wanted to thank our scouts and all the guys that have been grinding this film. You know, there's a lot of guys, especially now with one cut, you know, just going through a lot of breaking down guys and trying to prioritize it for us so we can get our eyes on the right guys. So they did a good job just kind of helping us do that. And then just thanking all the players that we've had that we had to let go. Obviously, you saw today we're able to get, you know, a decent amount back with the practice squad, but some close battles and, you know, very competitive and some tough decisions always this time of year. But and then finally with, you know, the moves we just made, put a couple guys on IR, you know, Shorter and 2 hamstrings, Shorter and Spector with those, and then signing Jermaine Ifedi at tackle, and then we signed a new long snapper, Reed Ferguson. Yeah, we it was a tough negotiation, but Reed did agree to come back.
There was a report you signed Christian Kursky. Is that obviously false?
So he has agreed to come here, but he's in the process, physical and all that stuff. So he is not signed yet.
Practice squad.
That would be the practice squad. Yeah, he'd be a veteran practice squad. Yep. Yeah, we have his spot, and then working on that quarterback. It's in motion, but
You have to have a third quarterback.
yes, we are going to add one. It's in motion. It's just it'll probably be finalized tomorrow.
What was your activity on the waiver wire?
With regards to what?
Did you put in any claims? I know that you didn't get any, but did you put any claims?
No.
The decision to trade Boogie, what went into that, and why moving on from him?
Yeah, you know, we're always looking, and you know, we tried to make the roster as competitive as we could. And what I said a minute ago is that's one of the discussions that was very tough. You know, especially a guy that still young, 2 years left on his deal. But we just, you know, we tried to go with where we thought the best group was, and so obviously Joe knows him. And we had a few teams reach out when we let it be known that we would listen. And, you know, Joe obviously knew him, was here when we drafted him. And so those guys, you know, reached out and we made the deal. You never want that to not work when you draft a guy, you know, as high as we did Boogie. But that's the nature of the business. You know, these are people, and sometimes it doesn't mesh at the right time, and Boogie's a great person, and you know, just like we have with some other players, you know, wish him the best, and you know, he can still play, and hopefully this next stop will be a good one for him.
Brandon, what went into the decision to put Vonn on the pup? How close is he, and was it a tough decision?
Yes, very tough. Debated round and round a little bit, but ultimately long season, and we want Vonn, you know, for the stretch run, and he's as I said before, he's trending up, and you know, I think, you know, there was a chance he would have been practicing soon, kind of working his way, but he just not quite there, and so we just don't think it would have, you know, the closer we got, don't think he would have been ready, you know, to immediately start the season. And so we're just going to try to play it smart, give him a little extra time so that he's truly ready to go. Vonn was ready. Like, he's ready to play ball. And, you know, that you can ultimately put that one on me.
Two players. First of all, Isabella was a free agent, could have gone anywhere. It was at his choice that he really felt this was the best place. Second question, it looks like Kirksey would be the move, and A.J. Klein would be maybe the guy you would have considered as a practice squad linebacker. Is that kind of how we could see that?
Yeah. What was your first question?
Did he wanted to be here, right?
Yeah, Andy, very impressed with Andy and what he did to come in when he did. I mean, to start training camp and to learn this playbook and to be able to work his way up to some reps with the ones was that said a lot about how we saw him and how his, the coaches and everyone in the building saw him work. And so he's a good player, and we're just going to continue to work him in our system. We were glad to get him back, and I think he said some positive things yesterday when Sean and I sat down with him to let him know, we didn't have a spot right now in the 53, but we think he can play, and we think as this year goes on, he'll help us.
Kirksey,
And then
AJ
Kirksey, it's a veteran guy. We got some guys on the team that know him. We kind of were after him a few years ago, and he ended up going to Cleveland, I think, and coincidentally, Al Holcomb coached him over there, and so I feel like we've been after this guy a few times, and he battled a hamstring at Houston this preseason, and so they made the move to terminate him, and with us terminating AJ, we felt Christian getting in here, getting our system. I don't know exactly. He's going through the physical now, where he's at, if he's full strength or not. Hopefully he passes the physical, but and then kind of ramp him up in our system, and we'll see where it goes.
Where does middle linebacker stand right now in terms of the competition, and I guess secondary cornerback 2 job on right guard as well?
Yeah, I'm not going to go into from a strategy standpoint. I'll let Sean kind of delve into that. With all those positions, really, it's been good battles, but from a competitive standpoint, Matt, I think I'm just going to hold off.
And then with Kirksey, what would be the path to getting him up to speed? How long do you feel that would take place after considering the conversations you might have had?
Yeah, by all accounts, he's pretty sharp, and he's been in this defense a little bit with Al when Steve Wilkes was the D coordinator in Cleveland, and Al, was on that staff. So he's had some familiarity with it. I don't know to the level and exactly how we do it, but being a smart guy and all that, and he's a veteran, I wouldn't think it would take him, a crazy long time.
And how set are you with the backup quarterback position? How set are you with the backup quarterback position with Kyle holding that role now, and are you confident that that's going to stay that way the rest of the year?
Listen, Kyle did some good things. Not everything was perfect. In fairness to Kyle, first year in the system, it's easy. It's complex. I think I've mentioned it before. I can't remember if to you guys or a one-off, but and I was just talking to Case Keenum last year. Case had mentioned, it was into the season before he really felt he had this offense down. And preseason's hard. You're playing with different front. You're playing with different receivers. You're getting different defenses. There's no game planning really like we do. So, if these guys will design a plan in Joe Brady and Ken Dorsey that suit Kyle's skill set more than just running our generic playbook each week, so that if he comes in the game, it'll fit that, which is the same thing they've done with Case or who else. So we think that will help, and just more time on task. But, yeah, we're bringing in competition as well, and we expect Kyle to continue, to ascend. And he did some good things. It's just I think it's just cleaning up the turnovers a little bit.
Back to the linebacker without getting into strategy. I know there's been lots of injuries there, but a couple weeks ago, Sean was saying he felt there was room for improvement. Obviously, he hadn't figured out who was going to start yet. Do you feel comfortable with the group of guys you have now as you guys continue to evaluate who might start?
Yeah, I think we do. Can I say, we've got someone that's going to Canton, right there? No. But we made a decision to have a veteran in AJ plus some youth, some inexperienced guys. You have to make decisions at times with the roster and, paying, a quarterback salary the way we are, and Steph and the other guys that you guys are aware of. So sometimes you have to let some, lesser expensive players, see if they can compete and see if the answer is on your roster. But, we'll try and pad it with a veteran. We had AJ. We're obviously bringing in Christian Kirksey here, so we'll see where that goes. But until you get out there in live game action and prove it when it really matters, again, back to game plan specific versus just knowing the whole defense, playing with the same people. We change it in and out, who these guys were playing with, whether they started, whether they backed up. And, unfortunately, Bernard had the hamstring injury before we left training camp. So, nothing's perfect there with multiple guys competing, but we're confident in the group around them that they're going to support them, and we'll just kind of take it one game at a time.
What did you see from Kingsley Jonathan that you kept him in that crowded pass rushing room?
Yeah, Kingsley, last year at this time, I was very disappointed because we were hoping he was a tough decision a year ago. He was rookie. We just felt like, not sure if he was quite ready for the 53. We lose him to the Bears, and when we saw him get released and get him back here, I was very excited. So I wasn't going to do that again. I think Kingsley just kept coming in camp. He plays with a motor, and he plays violent. He's relentless, and he's still learning the pass rush moves and all that you need at this level. But he's got a motor that it'd be hard to match. And so a young player, and we have veterans in Vonn and Leonard Floyd and these guys, but just a chance to interject a young guy. He also helps Matt Smiley's group on special teams. If he's getting a jersey, that would be another area he can help us.
Stand with Conor McGovern. He got banged up before the game last week, and saw him out there today. Where do things stand? How serious was that injury?
Yeah, I don't, nothing major. He practiced today, and I think everything went fine. I didn't hear any issues, so we feel pretty good with where he's at.
What was your level of, internal joy, perhaps, of telling Demar that he's going to be on the team?
Well, I didn't tell him anything, to be honest with you, but I just didn't tell him he wasn't on the team. That's kind of how we do it. But no, we talked yesterday, and just where he's at, and along with Sean and his coaches, of where he's at, and as we did some other guys, not just Demar. And I think the first thing all of us would say is how proud and honored we are to have him on the team and be here. And he's just kind of where he's at, where he's going, where he wants to get better. And, words can't say how amazing his story is.
There's a narrative out there by all the doubters who say, oh, you couldn't cut him because of the circumstances. How much did he in your eyes, earn this job?
100%. Like, players know players. If I'm keeping players that can't play, I'm not going to have a lot of respect from those players in the locker room, and probably the coaches either. But definitely players. I've been around. I've heard players, even when it's close, question like, how did this guy make it? Like they're watching as well everything you do. They want to win. They're putting a lot into it, and as long as Sean and I are running this thing, like we're not going to be just keeping players to keep them. It doesn't add up. It's not the culture that we're trying to build.
Ike Boettger had been around since 2018. What went into the decision to move on both with the roster and the practice squad?
Yeah, Ike is, man, you want to talk about a pro, or, if you want one of the best people, to ever get to know, and he fits our DNA up and down. You just feel bad for him, the Achilles and all that, and just the setbacks he had, and wasn't really able to get back on the field. I thought he was trending up in camp. I thought each game he was getting better, but that was a long layoff coming off, his second Achilles, and it stinks. There's, you got, again, talk about Damar. I would love to have an Ike Boettger on the team. But we made the decision that we did, and it was a very competitive group. Some young guys stepped up there and made it. We brought in some veterans as well. And the thing about Ike, he never batted an eye if Coach Cromer had him with the twos, the threes, wherever he did. And that's just the character. You won't you won't find a higher character guy than Ike Boettger. And so I told Ike, you never know in this business. Things change fast, and an injury or anything like that, someone's not performing. If he's available, we'd call him back right away.
Things develop with Fetty. What did you like about him, and take us into that process a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, experience. First off, his size. This was a former first round pick. I think it was 2016 maybe, but started a lot of games. Started his career in Seattle. Has played a lot. He's just a big man. He's long, and the thing that I saw is if he got beat, it wasn't an immediate loss. It was a fight to the third or fourth second of the play. Versus like, guy swiped his hands and just got right to the quarterback and got on him. So he's got some versatility. I would say his position one is right tackle, but he can go over there and play left. So he gives us a guy with veteran experience. We went a little bit young with Demark, and when he became available a couple days ago, we got on the horn and got him over here and had a visit with him and got him signed today.
And how do you juggle with a young player, especially a higher drafted one, giving them time to continue to develop while also maximizing potential value when you're looking at your roster, maybe their path to play?
Yeah, John, I mean, it's hard. You do have to make sure you give them enough time, and you weigh those heavily. I mean, I didn't do a good job with Wyatt Teller. We moved too quick on that. And listen, Boogie could go home and have a great career, and I'm seriously happy for Wyatt. I hate it didn't work here. And again, that's on me. And the same for Boogie. Like I'll be rooting for Boogie other than when he steps in this building week 6. Sometimes it's just timing, and you try and look at everything, and these are tough decisions. And I still think Boogie will be a good player in this league. I know what we saw in the draft process. I know the interest there was, but we had a competitive room, and you can only keep so many. And it was tight, but made the call and just doing the best we can. But he, it wasn't for a lack of effort or anything like that. He's a great person, and I think he'll still have a good career.
You mentioned that timing can be a factor for someone like Boogie. I know also last year you guys traded away Cody too. Is there anything that you can see of like when you're evaluating what happened in those processes that's connected, or were those just kind of coincidence that it was 2 years in a row of trading away those guys?
Yeah, I think some part of like going back to Cody, it was Cody had some injury things that happened, and he kind of fell back out of the. Cody's best year for us was probably his rookie year at right. He really did some good things, but the injuries just. I think they took a little bit of a toll and set him back, and so you're just trying to have that competition. And I think in Cody's case, he really he wanted to once you're starting, sometimes it's hard to come off that, and I think he just felt he could help our team or another team, and in his heart of hearts, I don't think he really was fired up about not being a starter, and so we just felt that was the best move at the time. And in Boogie's case, it's just. A competitive group, and he could have very easily made this roster. It wasn't a clear decision, and sometimes you have to make these. You're making a call, and you're doing the best. And with the data you have now, I don't think there's anything from there. But listen, I'll look at everything that we do here, from how we valued him, where we, the time we spent with the player through the process, everything we learned about these players through the scouting process, what we did here when we onboarded them, everything. And again, any one of those that doesn't work out, I'm going to beat myself up more than anybody else. And so it's, I hate they don't work. Nothing's perfect, and hopefully, keep that to a minimum.
Question: when you're making decisions like that, do you look at this season only, or do you project to the future? Like when you're making a decision on someone like Boogie, who's got 2 years left on his rookie deal, like is it focused on this season, what we need this year, or do you look to the future? Like how do you evaluate that?
It's both. It's a good question, Elena, but it is both. With a guy that in Cody's case, he had 1 year left, so it was really about now. In Boogie's case, it is about you got 2 years for a player on a rookie deal, and so we need those. But it's also was a tight competition, and it was tough. And one of the guys that we did keep in Kingsley is a cheaper player as well from that standpoint. Again, we signed Leonard Floyd late this year. You don't know when that can happen, but I thought Leonard had a good preseason for us and showed he can get after the passer. And it was just we had a lot of guys there, and ultimately we felt like this was the best group for us right now. Again, you do take in mind next season, but also this season probably outweighed next year.
Van DeMark's game came together to a degree where in 1 year he goes from practice squad to, at least for now, your swing tackle.
Yeah, Ryan, we got him here this time last year. The Colts claimed Tenuta, and then we reached out and basically swapped guys, even though he was on our practice squad. But he came in here, I'm going to say 290 pounds, just he looked like a basketball player. And, we needed Eric Ciano and his staff, and they did a great job. I mean, Ciano and crew did a great job of beefing him up with good weight so that he could anchor. That was probably the biggest thing, was a lack of anchor, and just even Aaron Cromer did a heck of a job too. If you watch his reps from last year, like in one-on-ones, is the best chance you get to see these guys go against some of our best. And he was getting beat a lot, but he was getting better and better, and he is one of the guys, him and Alec, that just put in a whole off season. I saw them together a lot, and they really worked and worked and worked. And I thought, he had a great camp, for him, especially at left. We had to put him at right that first game, but he had not, because we had Tommy Doyle and so many other guys taking right. He played left at college. He's just more of a natural left. We're going to continue to work on the right, but if he can make the jump at right that he did last year here at left, he's gonna stay in this league a while. So proud of him for making it, and look for we're going to need him.
You look at a third quarterback, the practice squad quarterback, thinking that Kyle's kind of entrenched behind Josh. Is it tricky to balance maybe a veteran that could possibly be a plug-and-play guy versus maybe a younger guy that you can develop long-term?
It is. I mean, ultimately, we still have to make sure whoever it is can run this. I mean, we feel that we got enough weapons that we got to have someone out there that can run this offense. And listen, it's going to be hard to match what Josh can do when he's playing at the level he can get to. But we need a guy, whether it was Case last year or Mitch before. And so, I think Kyle has done things in this league to, he's played some winning football, and he's had experience. He started a decent amount of games in Carolina, maybe a couple in Washington. And so, he's still a young player, but he's not a rookie that we're putting out there. So, fine line, but we believe in Kyle. If we didn't believe that Kyle could do it, we wouldn't have kept him. And so we believe he's still got room to grow. And again, we'll bring in someone else to get them familiar with our system too, and we'll kind of take it from there. But no, I think ultimately you still want to make sure, whether it's a 35-year-old or a 25-year-old, that when their number's called, whether it's for a half, a quarter, 3-game stretch, that we're going to play winning football.
What does Kyrie Elam need to do to get ahead? It seems like he's behind Dane and Christian for a second straight camp. To improve and I guess work his way up the depth chart.
I think Kyrie's improved a lot. I think he had a good camp. I really do. I think all 4 of those guys had a competitive camp. And I don't think it was a landslide of who. I think you can make arguments for the order of the group, depending on who you ask. And so, Kyrie gets put in this because he was a first-round draft pick, fairly or unfairly. But he's a good player. He's still young, and even though he hasn't quote unquote locked down the starting job yet, he still in the mix and look at all the guys that played last year. Kyrie's going to play in games this year. He's going to help us. Could be week 1, could be week 2, who knows? But he's a good player. He's improved a lot. I think the group has improved. All 4 of them, considering that Trey had to come back from what he did. I think Dane had a really good camp, his best camp, and I think Christian improved a lot. So we like the 4 guys we got, and we know it's a long season. We're going to need them all.
Fans look at Trey when he came in 17, started obviously a different circumstance. Is it fair when looking through that lens and looking at Kyer and his path to compare the 2 things? Is that a fair deal for Kyer?
Well, you have to look at what did our roster look like. What was each player's competition, and that's not just this position, any position. I mean, our roster in 2017, 2018, I would say not lack the depth that probably 2020, 2021. You know what I'm saying? And so as your roster gets more competitive and deeper, and you see that team's winning more games, it's generally going to be a harder roster to make and a harder roster to earn a starting job on. And so, those are 2 different circumstances of, one guy was drafted on a team that's been to an AFC championship game, had won 2 divisions in a row at the time, and another one was drafted on a team that had missed the playoffs 17 straight years. And that doesn't take anything away from Trey. It doesn't mean if Trey was drafted this year that he wouldn't have come in and won the starting job. It's just that's any position that you're evaluating where they're drafted. I mean, I think Dorian had a really good camp and did a lot of good things, but he's not going to pass Matt Milano, in a camp. And that's not that shouldn't take away from the job Dorian's done, or we can come up with other names. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Tredavius having a full training camp, almost a full preseason, and just what did you make of how he's been playing?
Tredavius, yeah. I think Tredavius is in a really good spot. You can just see it when you talk to him. He's confident. The ACL was a tough deal for him. It was his first major injury, and not an easy one to come back from, when you've never dealt with that, and poor timing when it happened. Obviously, him and Vonn's cases, Vonn has gone through it and kind of knew all the hurdles along the way. But Trey is he's in a great headspace. He's really confident, and I see a guy who's ascending and getting himself back to the Trey White that he was pre-injury.
He went through this. So he's eligible to come back after the Jacksonville game, if I do my math correctly, after week 4. Mm-hmm. That's when he's allowed to start practicing before.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's.
Heading into the Jacksonville game.
Yes, yeah.
Right. And he's allowed to practice the week before the Jacksonville game.
Yeah.
Given the timing and how weird that week's going to be, I mean, and how close he was to making the roster yesterday. Do you think it makes sense to have him practice that week and play immediately? I mean, what is the vision on that, knowing that that's going to be a weird week?
Yeah, I think we'll just take that when we get there, John. We'll see where he's at and see where we're at, and what we need, and if he's confident and ready to roll, and we feel he's had enough, in pads, because he's not going to be able to wear pads in practice until then. So. That would probably be a decision we'd have to make, that week once we go there. They usually give you an exemption week, when you bring them off, something like that. So we'll get him back out there, see how he feels, see how he looks, see, he hasn't played football, since last Thanksgiving. So just getting back in the flow of our defense. This was year 1 in that defense, but all that stuff. But I know he's going to want to play in that game, and. We'd be crazy not to want him out there, so hopefully the stars align.
Just as a follow-up, but I'm sorry, you do anticipate activating him that week?
I mean, as I sit here today, I think that's a good chance, but I don't hold me to that.
Whatever. Yeah. The plan would be,
I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
Gabe Davis was announced as a captain for the first time. Your perspective on that decision and what that means to him and his value to the team?
Yeah, Gabe is very valuable to our team. I mean, you want to talk about a pro from day one when he got here. Gabe is mature beyond his years, and you see that in his work ethic. I've talked about his work habits. If anything, you have to tell Gabe, unplug, take a break. And that's cool that his teammates see him in that light. I feel like they do, but this validates that for him. And so I'm looking forward to this season for Gabe. You know, I've echoed it before. I think going into game 2 when he got that high ankle, I think it bothered him for a while, and I think he probably pressed a little bit. And he's in a good spot, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what this season unfolds for him.
You went through the spring and summer. Was there a player or two that maybe exceeded what you thought you might see or surprised you?
You know, I don't know. I could sit here for a while. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have done some good things, and you know, I think Taylor Rapp came in here and did some good things for us this preseason for a guy who had not been in our defense. He's been fun to watch. However, whatever his role has been, however Sean's used him, you know, there's a decent amount of guys. I mean, I think Rousseau had a really good camp, you know, at lefty in for us, and so, but there's others too. I don't want to keep you guys.
What is it about Cam Lewis that, I mean, I think this is his 5th year now, undrafted free agent. Every year he seems to be on that roster bubble, and every year he just kind of defies the odds, if you will, and makes the roster.
Cam's a great example. We tell people all the time, don't count how many reps you get. Just make the most of them, because sometimes you go in, whether it's in the spring, whether it's the start of training camp, and you're running with the 3s or you're running with the 2s, I'm not getting enough reps. You start going, well, they only keep X number of corners or safeties in his case, whatever it is. People start, you know, they're worrying about the wrong thing. Cam Lewis, from the day he's gotten here, is just worried about, you want me on the field, I'm going to go make a play. And he's really improved in special teams. He's shown his versatility, whether it's nickel, whether it's safety. He is the definition of football player. And you saw it the other day. You know, tackling is one of the things that, you know, has somewhat become a little bit of a lost art in our game. Just, you know, I don't know if fundamentals are taught well enough starting in, you know, Pop Warner and all the way through high school and college. And that he is one of the better tacklers out there. You saw it in Chicago. That was a textbook tackle that he made. It's like teaching tape watching him do that. And the only thing that's held him back has been some durability things, but he's a damn good football player.
You mentioned paying guys like Josh and Steph that often results in like a younger linebacker room and things like that. Do you feel comfortable overall with the depth on this roster and how it's set up, this 53? I know you're still tinkering with it and stuff, but do you feel comfortable with where it stands?
I never feel comfortable, Elena. It's just how it is. We're always going to look. I like the guys we have. I do. But if there's something that we can find that makes us more competitive or gives us more depth somewhere, even at practice squad, you know, we'll churn some workouts coming up. We'll do some things, and you know, if there's a way we can find one player that helps us, we'll do it.
We've covered a lot over the years, your competitiveness. Personally, you spent a lot of time on the draft. A couple day 2 guys over the years, you know, Cody, Zach, now Boogie. Do you take that a little bit extra personally when it doesn't work out, or do you find you kind of can't because you got to kind of just move and look to what's next?
Yeah, I mean, I take any player that doesn't work out here that we invested in, whether we paid them a contract or if we wherever we drafted them. I want them all to work out. But I also have to try and make this thing as competitive as I can. And I understand sometimes bringing a Leonard Floyd in might bump somebody out that you drafted high or did something else with. But that's my job, is to make this thing as competitive and not protect draft picks or not protect signings. And it stings to do that. And yeah, as I said to Catherine earlier, like, you know, I'm going to look at every process. I do that all the time. It's not like I need to start today looking at it. It's everything that we do that doesn't work. Nobody's going to be more pissed at me than myself. And so we'll always try and eliminate those, but they're going to happen from time to time. You're not drafting robots or signing robots. They're people. And as I said, sometimes I've been around where you get a player that it didn't work out somewhere else. they came to you and they thrived. I mean, Jordan Phillips, I think he was a second-round pick in Miami. It didn't work out. We got him here, and I think he's played his best football here. And so sometimes circumstances for whatever in life, timing, where you're at in your life, what's going on, things just happen better for you somewhere else. And again, I'm definitely always questioning anything myself, that how I can get better, and I'll do that again in this case.
How interested would you be in bringing Isaiah McKenzie back?
I just saw he was released. Yeah, I mean, listen, I love Isaiah.
Don't get too excited.
Too late.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have been out here talking to us.
Can't talk about him. He's signed another team, Tim. Trying to get me in trouble.
See, I'm here paying attention to Brandon while you guys are on social media.
Thank you, Tim. All right, we good? All right, thank you.